Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi hamda shakirin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala sayyidina Muhammad طب القلوب ودوائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد كلما ذكرك الذاكرون وغفل عن ذكرك الغافلون. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to this emergency live regarding the events in Pakistan and occupied Kashmir as well as India. So as we covered some of the standoff in a previous live stream, ever since we have had an escalation of events in the past 2 days. Today, for instance, India had sent over 90 drones over the airspace of Pakistan, and the Pakistani army fired at those drones and had those drones shot down. Those drones happened to be made in Tel Aviv in occupied Palestine. And of course, Modi and Benjamin Netanyahu are in cahoots. Both of them are colluding. And this attack on Pakistan has, without doubt, a Zionist hand. There is a Zionist hand in the rise of extreme Hindu Vata within India, and we have the Zionist hand in the right, for instance, here in the UK, that you find that there is a funding for such type of schemes in order to provoke violence provoke violence amongst communities. Now, the current war that is escalating between Pakistan and India, there is false propaganda on the side of the Indian media. And an example of this is where the night before last, Pakistan claimed they had downed 5 Indian jets. Those jets were made in France. And the Indian media rejected these claims strongly, claiming with regard to Pakistan that Pakistan is peddling false propaganda. Pakistan is presenting false images. Later, the next day, the Indian media as well as other outlets accepted the fact that Pakistan had actually downed 5 fighter jets that were made in France. Now, France perhaps constructed those jets very well, but the Indian pilots were not good enough to man those jets and were shot down by the anti-aircraft that Pakistan possesses. Now, in 2019, if you remember, when Pakistan shot down a fighter pilot and the fighter pilot was taken as a prisoner, subsequently the fighter pilot was released. That was taken as a sign of weakness from the Modi government and the Hindu Vata. And of course, you have these idiots like Owaisi from India, Asadullah Owaisi, some minister of India who claims to be a Muslim. Ostensibly, he's a Muslim, wearing a turban with the Indian flag and stating things like Pakistan Murdabad. And he has provoked. For instance, here's Asaduddin Owaisi's tweet. He says, "I welcome the targeted strikes by our defense forces on terrorist hideouts in Pakistan. The Pakistani deep state should be taught a lesson so that it never takes another step again. Pakistan's terror infrastructure should be destroyed." And this idiot writes, Jai Hind. Now, Mr. Jai Hind Owaisi, you khabith, before you support Indian terror in Kashmir, you should know that your Hindutva government did not target terrorist sites. It targeted our ancestral home in the area of Azad Kashmir. And here from Birmingham, there is a local Imam, Maulana Anis, a real individual, whose house was one of the targets of your Indian shells. Those shells landed behind his home. He has posted pictures of where those shells landed. And Asaduddin, you call yourself Asaduddin, you should rename yourself as Baqaratuddin. You are Baqaratu Dinin, meaning not of Deenul Islam. Asaduddin Awesi, you condone Indian terrorism across the borders of Pakistan. I have pictures. Maulana Anis wrote 4 bombs hit behind our house. May Allah protect our families and land. Exactly outside of his house. I have the picture here. That the house is there, as you can see. And where he's placed the circles, where we have placed the circles, that is the citizen sites. These are not terrorist sites, as you claim. So, as this issue escalates, there is also the Indian Army targeting the temple of the Sikhs in Pakistan, the birthplace of Guru Nanak. And then at the same time claiming that the Pakistani army was targeting Amritsar in order to evoke emotions within the Sikh community. When in reality, Pakistan has a policy, a very clear policy, that the Pakistani military never targets religious sites. Within the history of Pakistan's conflicts, Pakistan has never targeted religious sites. Pakistan does not target Hindu temples or Sikh temples and any holy sites belonging to any religious group. While the Hindutva army, the Indian army, has targeted a masjid, killing children, and claims to have killed terrorists. These are false claims. They are people from Kotli region in the northern area of Pakistani administered Kashmir. And within that Kotli area, people that we know, families that we would know. The community is tight-knit and everyone knows everyone. So these are not terrorists that are actually you are targeting. So we have updates with regard to the current war that is escalating, and I will give you some of those updates as well as my thoughts and sentiments with regard to what is occurring. For instance, we have updates with regard to this Thursday that India fired attack drones into Pakistan. This Thursday, killing at least 2 civilians. 2 civilians. So, Mr. Awesi, you are false in your claim that they are attacking terrorist sites. Additionally, at least 48 deaths have been reported, 32 of them in Pakistan, since India launched missiles on Wednesday that it said targeted terrorist camps, and Pakistan retaliated with a barrage of artillery strikes. Now, of course, there is much news. For instance, Pakistan's military 12 minutes ago said tensions are spiraling That is what the Pakistani military has said. Throughout the day, we have heard from Pakistan military spokespeople that this is an escalation which seems to be spiraling, because at least 4 military personnel have also been wounded. In the province of Punjab, schools have been closed for the next 48 hours. Tens of thousands of people have been affected, as airports have been shut and the stock market has also been affected. People here are telling us about how concerned they are about recent developments. Additionally, the US State Department, US remaining engaged with both governments. Now, we know the US government in reality is a warmonger. The US policy in Yemen is clear to all. The US policy in Palestine, occupied Palestine, is clear to all. So they are claiming that they want a de-escalation. What they mention, we want the perpetrators to be held accountable and are supportive of any efforts to that end. Also, the Hindu journalists, they state that in my entire life, I have never seen anything like this. So a senior journalist based in Jammu city has, and they claim it's in India, of course, all of Kashmir must be freed. And what is mentioned has told Al Jazeera that in the drone attacks in Jammu, India administered Kashmir were unprecedented. These are drone attacks that India claims Pakistan has made over what is referred to as Indian airspace. The situation is calmer now, but from around 8 to 9 p.m. local time, that is 2:30 GMT time, there was a total blackout, chaos and fear all across Jammu city. Electricity has been restored in some parts of the city. Now let me tell you something. The shelling that occurs in Kashmir from time to time, there is shelling that occurs. This has occurred prior to this current war. It occurs on the line of control between Indian occupied Kashmir and Free Kashmir. On that line of control, they exchange fire. The Indians are not so moral in their shelling, because they know that the people who are on the other side of the line of control are Muslims. The Pakistani army, however, is careful how it shells on the other to the other side, because they know the residents on the line of control are actually Muslims for the majority. They are Muslims. So what we see now is that India indiscriminately fires artillery across the border of Pakistan, while Pakistan has always been, historically speaking, much more careful in how they direct their firing and their shells across the line of control. So, and this is, we know from first-hand sources, meaning people who live in the region, people who live in Kotli, people who live in Pimbar, people who live in those regions, relatives and tribal links, people that we know. This is first-hand information. So historically speaking, Pakistan was much more careful in how they shelled across the line of control, because they knew that the residents across the line of control are actually Muslims, while India is much more hazardous in how they launch strikes across the line of control. Additionally speaking, the Pakistani army has seen to the wounded in the side of Kashmir in the past, whether that be in the 1965 war or any other war. This has happened in the past. The Pakistani army has been much more better in its in how it treats the people of Kashmir under their administration, unlike the Indian army. The Indian army is known for its war crimes. For every 10 citizens, they have a soldier, not to administer their side of Kashmir, but to actually occupy Kashmir. And they have tortured many Kashmiris, imprisoned them, and have contained the Kashmiris. Ever since 2019, there has been a clear containment of Kashmiris. The Kashmiris have been contained, and it's one of the largest prisons on earth, while Gaza is the largest concentration camp on earth. Now, Pakistan in this current war, and this is, I'm reading from the Independent here, in this current war, Pakistan is much more truthful than India in this current war. Now, unlike you Indians, unlike Bakratu, Deen al-Hunud, Awesi, unlike these type of individuals, we Pakistanis and Kashmiris, we can criticize Pakistan openly. We have much more freedom of speech. People who come from a Kashmiri or a Pakistani heritage, or people who live in Pakistan, have much more freedom of speech than what Modi's India gives to its people. So people are critical of the army, but they also observe the merit of the army in terms of the current conflict. That the way we can criticize the army, we have that freedom to do so. We also have the open eye to see the merit of the army, while the Indians are only prone to disinformation. So this is why Pakistan's information minister accuses India of spreading disinformation. So he states Pakistan's information minister has rejected reports that Pakistan attacked Indian administered Kashmir. So this is a lie that the Hindu-Vata extremists have spread, that Pakistan is attacking civilians in Indian occupied Kashmir. Additionally, in a post on X, Ataullah Attarar said Pakistan has not targeted any locations in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir or across international borders so far. Neither has any loss incurred by PAF. He then went on to accuse India of spreading misinformation. Indian media is always spreading disinformation, either to craft a fake notion of success before publicly accepting the embarrassing losses during the unprovoked aggression on the 6th of May 2025. So this article, by the way, is written by Alisha Rahman Sarkar in Delhi, Marusha Muzaffar. And what it states, X meaning Twitter, accuses India of censorship. So all these Indian trolls, you should listen to these. Twitter accuses India of censorship after receiving order to block more than 8,000 accounts in the country, including leading news organizations. Is that clear? That India is spreading misinformation according to Twitter, according to Mr. Elon Musk, a Zionist, an ally of India. So there is also a claim that India has accused Pakistan of attempting a drone attack, while Islamabad has said it has shot down drones launched from India. There is much more truthful statements within the Pakistani media and amongst the Pakistani people in this war. That there is much more to be said in terms of the landmass of Pakistan being less, but we will also go through the other updates that are being mentioned. Inshallah, place your questions also into the Q&A. We will be taking Q&A also further down on this subject. Someone asks, is this war Ghazwatul Hind? If not, what are its signs? This is not Ghazwatul Hind. This is just one Ghazwa of many. Someone states, Alhamdulillah, your live stream came. We waited yesterday. Yes, further developments due to the current developments. Ahmed Khan states, India has killed 2 children in my city, Kotli, Azad Kashmir. Yes, we know of what is happening in Kotli. People here in Birmingham, in Luton, in many towns in England are from Kotli and from Azad Kashmir. And we have first-hand information, and the Indian Muslims who support Modi, not the Indian Muslims who support Islam, who may be silent, which is fine. Silence for your own safety is fine. I'm addressing the Hinduvata loving Asaduddin Awesi. I am addressing those who have given statements supporting the current incursion of Modi. So, Indian Navy sources claim operations have begun. Indian Navy sources have claimed targeted operations have begun in the Arabian Sea against multiple targets in Pakistan. This was on New Delhi television. It comes after numerous explosions were heard on Thursday in the city of Jammu in Indian-administered Kashmir, something which Pakistan denies. Blackouts were also enforced in several cities, including Chandigarh, Mohali and Srinagar. The Ministry of Defence for the Government of India said on ex-military stations at Jammu. So these are the claims that... So an update was that the masajid in Mirpur have announced to take off the lights in the homes, meaning people are told to switch off their lights in Mirpur city. Someone asks, Indian Grand Mufti Shaykh Abu Bakr supports India. What are your thoughts? I published my thoughts on Facebook. So if you go to, I will be reading that to you shortly. So the Indian military claims military stations at Jammu, Pathankot and Udhampur were targeted by Pakistani origins drones. This is all false news, by the way. And missiles along the international border in J&K today. The threats were swiftly neutralized using kinetic and non-kinetic capabilities in line with established standard operating procedures. No casualties or material losses were reported. This is all fake news. The Indians are peddling rubbish. The Indians have enough excrement on the streets of India to throw in the media also. So we will carry on with other updates. Before going on to those updates, I would want to read out the statement of Mufti Abu Bakr of India, of Kerala, how I responded to that statement. And this response is for all ulama who may support the Indian aggression. So how I responded? Firstly, Mufti Abu Bakr, he claimed India's firm stand against terrorism is not merely a demonstration of national strength and sovereignty. It is also a profound expression of our collective duty to uphold justice and safeguard humanity. The steps taken by our nation are vital in vanishing the forces of terror that seek to disrupt peace and stability in South Asia, including the region of Kashmir. He states, I firmly believe that India, through its diplomatic initiatives and principled actions, can play a greater role in expanding the global fight against terrorism, etc. Now, this statement is absurd. Firstly, if Mufti Abu Bakr actually wrote it, or his admin, Allah knows best, but it is ascribed to him on his page. And one person said to me, perhaps he wrote this because his madrasa will be closed down. That is rubbish. That is total rubbish. Because there are ulama in India who never speak on these issues, and they have madaris, they have madrasas, and they also have schools and colleges, but they never speak like this. The statement is wrong because, firstly, you mention national strength and sovereignty and collective duty to uphold justice and safeguard humanity. Where was the safeguarding for Gujarati Muslims? When Hindu extremists bombed trains and killed hundreds of Gujaratis, where was the BJP then? Where was the safety for Muslims who are killed across India? And where is the safety for the Sikhs who are undermined? Or the Sikhs, the farmers in Punjab who are undermined? Where is the unity then? And then you mention Kashmir when there is no peace in Kashmir. Kashmir is under lockdown. So what I wrote on Facebook, you can access this on my Facebook page. Mufti Abu Bakr of Kerala and other ulama of India should not make irresponsible statements. As people from the Pakistan, Kashmir, we know the Hindutva extremist Indian government under Modi, allied with Zionism and so-called Israel, is making false propaganda regarding the Kashmiri independence and Pakistan. So someone asks, Sheikh, it seems like all Muslim countries are struggling as they have left Al-Aqsa. Each Muslim nation the questioner asks, Sheikh, it seems like all Muslim countries are struggling as they have left Al-Aqsa. Each Muslim nation is fighting its own war, either against kuffar or against Muslims. That is correct, Salman Ghazi. I mentioned this also, that if Pakistan and other nations do not give priority to Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, and they do not give importance to the issue of Al-Quds Al-Sharif, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will engage them in an issue that will force them to action. And this has happened to many. For instance, we have the situation in Syria where Ahmad al-Shara' now is in negotiations with so-called Israel, with Tel Aviv, because he has not responded to Israeli aggression. And then his fanboys who talk about realpolitik, they state that he cannot respond because they are too weak. But the response to that is very easy. That if you are too weak, you were weak when you were rebelling against Bashar al-Assad. Now when it comes against Akfar al-Kuffar, the worst unbelievers, which is what refers to itself as the state of Israel, in that case you should have launched a civil defense of the country of Syria. Similarly, any other country that does not engage against the common enemy, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will place them in ibtila, in some type of trial. So we will go back to some of the updates. Some people ask, Sheikh, please guide us. What should we do as a Muslim ummah? Well, firstly, the Ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam needs to unite. There needs to be wahdah, tawheedul ummah. The Ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam needs to unite, and we cannot disunite. So people like Asaduddin al-Awasi and others who are disuniting the Muslims, those people should be called out for their disunity, disuniting the Muslims. Muslims from India, from Singapore, from Indonesia, Malaysia, from Kashmir, across Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, all these nations, and then into Syria, Lebanon, Arabia, Yemen, all these Muslims, and then the whole of North Africa and Africa itself need to unite against the common enemy. And the common enemy is Zionism. That is the common enemy. And we must throw off the yoke of occupation. The yoke of occupation which is strangling the lifeblood, choking life out of the residents of not only Palestine, but the entire Muslim world. So, someone asks, footage of crashed fighter jets located. So, 1 hour ago, this was in. That Pakistan's military claimed it shot down 5 Indian air jets, including 3 French-made Rafales, in a major escalation of cross-border hostilities, potentially marking the first combat loss of the advanced aircraft. Pakistan's military spokesman, Lieutenant General Ahmad Sharif, told reporters on Wednesday that the jets were targeted from within Pakistan airspace in retaliation for earlier Indian airstrikes. But BBC has now authenticated 3 videos, all taken from what appears to be the same field and purport to show the wreckage of a... But remember, BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, is not exactly trustworthy itself. The updates from Al Jazeera we will check, but someone asks a question. According to news reports, Pakistan has sold many of its missiles to Ukraine very recently. Does Pakistan still have the means to take on India militarily without these missiles? How truthful is that actual report? Pakistan would never relieve itself of any of its artillery in terms of its civil defense. So how truthful and how verified is that actual report? Someone states in Pakistan during the funeral there was a Shia, Sunni, Wahhabi side by side because they have united in the war against the kuffar enemy. Yes, they would rather unite with the Shia and a Wahhabi than a Hindu who kills Muslims. That's the reality. And that is the reality that these Hindu Vata types like Asaduddin need to realize. So, other people have said that there is a conspiracy that because the Pakistani ulama have called for jihad against Israel recently, and to counter this momentum, what happened is that India struck Pakistan. Whether that can be established or not is another issue. But what we do have, just 6 minutes ago, authorities in New Delhi declare a high alert. A state of high alert has been declared as we speak now in India's capital, New Delhi. And all government employees' leaves were cancelled amid tensions with Pakistan, according to a Press Trust of India (PTI) report. Not PTI, the Pakistani PTI, this is Press Trust of India. Delhi's airport also issued a travel advisory. While its operations remain normal, the airport has warned that some flights have been affected due to changing airspace conditions and heightened security. So, also what has come in 22 minutes ago is that misinformation and rumors rife on both sides. So, those who say that this is a Pakistani propaganda channel, this is not actually a Pakistani propaganda channel. This is a Birmingham propaganda channel. We are running from Birmingham. Thank you very much. So, Birmingham, West Midlands. So, someone asks, is this the official Ghazwa-e-Hind? Some have said it is not the official Ghazwatul-Hind, but these are the stepping stones or Muqaddimatu Ghazwatul-Hind, because the Ghazwatul-Hind happens in the time of Al-Mahdi radiyallahu anhu. I would like to also mention a disclaimer. Mufti Abu Bakr is a very old individual, and I do not believe he has written that post. Most likely someone else has published that on his behalf. He's a very old individual. So sometimes some ulama, they can be very old, and then people around them, they take advantage. So someone states, Sheikh, I feel like a nuclear war will break out before Mahdi comes, since extreme chaos will be present at his arrival. I feel it very close. Well, if you check my book, Navigating the End of Time, I mention the hadith regarding the column of fire, and this is in Al-Fitan of Nu'aym bin Hammad. The column of fire that appears in the east, which is referred to as the Hudda in the month of Ramadan. And there is speculation that the actual column of fire is a nuclear war that occurs. And some of our shuyukh did state that the hadith which mentions al-masakh, disfiguration that occurs, some of them were of the al-khasfu wal-masakh, which is landslides and disfiguration. They said that punishment could come in the form of what? Of nuclear strikes. So this is not far-fetched. So it's important to understand, firstly, as conflict escalated between India and Pakistan for the second day, misinformation and rumors were rife on both sides of the Radcliffe Line. It's called the Radcliffe Line. Of course, these are remnants of our British history in that region, of course. And what is stated is, helped along by mainstream and social media, a journalist based in India who preferred not to be named told Al Jazeera on Thursday there were reports on Indian TV, each of each side moving tanks towards the other. These were refuted by the Indian government. There were also reports on Indian news channels of suicide attacks by armed men in India's Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab states, which were also refuted by the Indian government. There are no suicide bombers in Kashmir. Our people are busy in our side of Kashmir with having cups of tea and relaxing all day because of the amount of freedom that they have. They have no guns. You cannot even purchase a gun without a license. You can ask people from Mirpur and other regions, Kotli, people do not carry guns. There are no suicide bombers. The majority of the residents are Sufis. The Pakistani army is in charge. There are no terror camps. On the same day, a story played on Indian news media of Pakistan's DGISPR admitting in a video of the shutting down of Pakistan Air Force's two JF-17 fighter aircraft. This story eventually seems to have died a natural death when users on X pointed out the video was an apparent AI-generated fake. So the Indians, they generated an AI fake of Pakistan losing jets. This is the level of the intellect, and not the intellect, well, the intellect of the masses in terms of buying this propaganda, but the level of propaganda of the Indian side. So, as I mentioned earlier, Pakistan's military said 37 minutes ago that tensions are spiraling. And what else is mentioned is that Pakistan attacks Indian military stations of Jammu. This is what Pakistan denies with regard to this claim. Indian military stations in Jammu, which are close to the border between India and Pakistan, have been targeted by Pakistan using missiles and drones, according to India's integrated defense staff. There was also, of course, the area where India claims to have hit a terror base. They actually hit a masjid, a mosque. And what proves this fact is that Pakistan actually has a very free media. Western journalists can go to those sites, unlike Gaza today. Gaza is closed off to international media. Pakistan does not have that policy. And 2 hours ago, by the way, flights resumed from Karachi airport, as well as explosions in Jammu that were mentioned as completely unprecedented. Well, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He enable Pakistani army to take Jammu and Kashmir, the whole of Jammu and Kashmir, and that the Indian army actually enables, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enables the Pakistani army to make the Indians flee from Jammu and Kashmir. Because you have to remember, these Indian soldiers are underfed. Most of them probably only eat vegetables anyhow. But the Pakistani army is well fed. The Indian army is underfed and probably does eat vegetables like cows. This is a fact. And they are weak and cowardly. And when they see Pakistani soldiers, they do run away from their posts. The Pakistani soldiers, well, someone says with regard to the Pakistan, does Pakistan have a free media? I said Pakistan has a relative free media in comparison to other places like what you refer to as Israel or Tel Aviv. So what Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif earlier today received a phone call from US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And Shehbaz Sharif, he said, India's attacks had violated Pakistan's sovereignty and territorial integrity, while gravely jeopardizing peace and stability in the South Asia region. He also stated Pakistan will protect its sovereignty, has the right to act in self-defense under Article 51 of the UN Charter, and appreciated US President Donald Trump's concern over the situation. This was a written statement of Shehbaz Sharif. So Shehbaz Sharif Shahbaz Sharif, his statement is correct that Pakistan has every right to protect its territorial integrity, and it has every right to take the whole of Kashmir, which we hope will be the minimum outcome of this engagement and not a nuclear fallout. Because if both nations utilize nuclear weapons, then over 100 million people could die, as well as the land will be no longer arable. You cannot farm the land. And from the nuclear fallout, hundreds, millions of tons of soot will cover the area. That will be the result of a nuclear fallout. And of course, the responsibility falls on the shoulders of Modi. So, international concern is mounting over the India-Pakistan conflict, as both are armed with substantial nuclear arsenals. Atomic bombs have only been used twice 80 years ago in Japan. And of course, they were made by a Jew and utilized by the United States of America. Jewish scientists from Nazi Germany were transported from Germany to the United States, and including Jewish scientists. So the Nazis and the Jews, they colluded in creating that technology which made nuclear bombs, the atom bomb. And then it was only ever thrown over Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki by one nation, and that nation is known as the United States of America. So Muslims have never invented nuclear weapons, and neither have they utilized nuclear weapons. And Iran actually has the edict that manufacturing nuclear weapons is not permissible. That would be the correct view, because it does not act as a deterrent, because a deterrent that cannot be used is not actually a deterrent. It's the same as not having any weapons. But utilizing that deterrent is destructive and indiscriminate. But inshallah, we will now open up for more of your questions, and then we will resume with updates on what is occurring. Someone asks, I am an Indian Muslim. What should I do right now? I am surrounded by Hindus and Modi supporters. Also, I live in Jalandhar city in Punjab. We have seen Pakistani missiles flying over us from the west. Well, Jalandhar city is full of Sikhs, and in Jalandhar city you have people who do not support Modi. But as a Muslim, you should not be supporting Modi. The most you can do is stay silent and be apolitical. Someone says, sir, I am not sure where you are getting this info. Indian people are far better than anywhere else. They do respect Islam, even when they are Hindus. I live here, I know it. Well, I would like to tell you, I am not targeting Hindus. I am targeting extreme Hinduvata. Hindus in general, in their essence, did live in coexistence and peacefully with Muslims. It is Modi that has excited community tensions, has created a rift within India, and now has managed to create a war between India and Pakistan. So the target is not peaceful Hindus. The target is those who support Modi and the like, whether they are Hindu or Muslim. There are Muslims who support Modi also. Someone asks, why is the USA taking a neutral stance on this conflict? The response to that is both Pakistan and India are client states of the West. That is the reality. That both Pakistan and India, in fact, the Pentagon facilitated the construction of nuclear sites for both countries. So they are Western clients. They only war in accordance with the Western power structure. So the Shahbaz Sharif, for instance, giving citation to the UN Charter, Modi making trade deals with the West. Both of these are subject nations of the West. But there is a role of the Pakistani military where it does defend the national interests of Muslims within Pakistan and Pakistani non-Muslim citizens, as well as the interests of Muslims in India and Kashmir. Of course, those Indian Muslims who would support Pakistan, and Modi is undermining the Muslims of India. Someone asks, Sheikh, where are you from in Kashmir? I have heritage from all over Kashmir, but my paternal ancestors are from Kashmir in a village that is well known. So Ahmed Khan states, Sheikh, we have many soldiers on the border, including my cousin, fighting on the line of control who are from Azad Kashmir. That is great news. They have a reward. They are known as Murabitun. Murabitun are those who stand on the borders to protect the borders of the Muslims. And this action is known as Ribat. Someone asks, Assalamu alaikum, I have recently been diagnosed with an eye disease. What is the best dua for such a situation? Inshallah, stay online and in a short while I will give you a dua to read for your eye disease. Someone asks, do you think Syria will normalize with Israel? Well, Ahmad al-Shara', aka Jolani, yesterday there was a report that he admitted that Syria has been in contact with Tel Aviv and had even a delegation sent in April. But that should not come to any surprise. Why? Because there were fighters from the rebel side that were treated in Tel Aviv. There were people who were given treatment in Tel Aviv from early on in the conflict. So it should not come as to any surprise if he normalizes. Someone says, can you please talk about racist Afghanis supporting Modi? Well, let me make something clear. Every country has rejects. Pakistan has many rejects. There are many Pakistani rejects. There are many Indian rejects, like this Asaduddin Owaisi. And Afghanistan also has rejects. So Afghanistan has one of the best law system in the region. Qudat, they judge by the Hanafi fiqh in terms of codified law. And the Afghanis who actually support the Hindu Vata, so someone says it's Hindutva, not Hindu Vata. So Hindutva. Those who support that Hindutva, they are misguided. They are misguided. So many countries have rejects, and Afghanistan, of course, has its rejects. Someone says, Sheikh, do you think India has become more brazen due to the military inactivity of Muslim countries as a whole, who have done nothing to help Gaza in terms of liberation via their armies? Yes, of course. If Muslims abandon jihad in the way of Allah, they abandon ribat, they abandon guarding the borders, the thughur, they abandon all forms of jihad training, meaning the official armies, then such people like the Hindutva and the Zionists, they become brazen in their attacks. And Pakistan must respond with force. Pakistan should target Indian military targets. Pakistan should target their bases, military bases. Pakistan should target their airspace and target their military air force and their tanks. All these tanks that we have in Pakistan, like the Khalid bin Walid tank, these should be utilized. Someone asks, Sheikh, who controls the Pakistani government? Well, it depends on what aspect. If you mean the economy, then the bankers control the economy and the army. But that control is limited in its scope, that ultimately the Muslims or the Pakistani army still has some autonomy in self-defense. Someone asks, any thoughts on Dala'ilul Khairat? Dala'ilul Khairat is a good book that you should read. It's salawat and salam on the best of creation, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just a reminder, the questions are on the Indian-Pakistan war today. It's an emergency live on that situation. Someone says, Pakistan army shall bear the brunt of ignoring the Palestinians' plight, despite being blessed by Allah with military might. And the same should be said with regard to the Turkish army and the Egyptian army and Erdogan, who makes fantastic speeches. Unlike the Pakistani army did not make any promises. Someone asks, what did Syrian ulama say with regard to Pakistan? Well, recently Dr. Abdul Qadir al-Hussein, he praised Pakistan. He said the Pakistani brothers were swift to respond. May Allah bless them, meaning the army, that they were quick and swift to respond, unlike the Arabs. So unlike the Arabs, when their land is taken by Israel, except Palestine. When I say Palestine, I mean the real leadership of Palestine, not Mahmoud Abbas. And Mahmoud Abbas is pro-India. Mahmoud Abbas and the PLO are pro-India, while the Palestinian opposition fighters are pro-Pakistan. That is something to note. The resistance fighters are pro-Pakistan, while Mahmoud Abbas is pro-India. But the Arabs, they have stood when their land is taken, like the King of Morocco, or Egypt, or Syria. And Jolani makes the excuse that Syria is weak, but Jolani should realize that they were weak at the beginning of the Syrian civil war. That did not deter him from causing civil war in Syria, the death of over 500,000 in Syria, at the hands of Bashar mainly, yes, no doubt. But inspired and facilitated by a rebellion, and of course funded by the CIA and other parties that were interested in the region. So someone asks, Daniel asks, soon I will qualify as an A&E nurse. Remember, a man can be a nurse as well. Would I have the reward of jihad for volunteering in Gaza hospitals once experienced enough? The answer is yes, of course. And the same goes for doctors, anyone who is involved in A&E. Someone asks, if Pakistan is Darul Islam and India is Darul Kufr, then are Muslims who die fighting for Indian army against Pak army shaheed, and are soldiers from Pak army who fight against Indian army martyrs? The answer to you, any Muslim who fights for the Indian army dies a death which is the death of haram, meaning a death, haram in the sense he has committed haram, of khiyana, of treachery. And a Muslim who fights on the side of Pakistan and on the borders of Kashmir, he, inshallah, if his intention is correct, is shaheed in the way of Allah. Someone asked, what is your opinion on the Sky News reporter Yelda Hakim and on her conduct when she is interviewing Pakistani guests? I have not observed that, so I would not know. Someone asks, would it be considered hijrah if I move to Pakistan from Canada? The army is corrupt. Should I join? I also want to work to be able to take care of my aging parents. You should take care of your aging parents. A Sahabi asked the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for permission for jihad. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded him to do jihad by looking after his parents. It's a famous hadith. So you must look after your aging parents. Someone asks, isn't Pakistan a secular country and uses Islam when it suits its agenda? I would say to you that if you read my book, Intellectual Intifada, I have much criticism of the Pakistani army. But in no way would one side with the Indian Hindutva against the nation of Pakistan or the people of Kashmir. So if you mean that a person remains totally neutral, the army is not secular, meaning they do believe in Islam, they do have Islam. Yes, it is corrupt, but many armies in the past were corrupt. Even the Ottoman armies had a time when the Sultan or the generals were corrupt. But that does not mean you become a turncoat. It does not mean you become a traitor to the overall defense of Muslim borders. And that applies to every nation, every Muslim nation. We do not become treacherous to the nation, any Muslim nation. We are not treacherous to Saudi Arabia. I repeat that again. We are not treacherous to Saudi Arabia because it's still a Muslim country. We do not call for violence in Saudi Arabia or any other Muslim country. And if someone attacks any one of the Muslim countries, we support the Muslims of those countries. And that is a policy that is consistent for all the Muslims. So even if Jawlani Ahmad Sharna is president of Syria, we do not call for an overthrow of him because it leads to bloodshed. So Jawlani now is the president of Syria. No one should be calling for an overthrow of Jawlani because it will lead to bloodshed. So this demonstrates that it's a consistent view. Whether it's Jawlani, whether it's the government of Egypt, whether it's the government of Pakistan or Afghanistan, Muslim majority countries, we do not call for revolution because it leads to bloodshed. Hundreds and thousands die. Someone asks, are most subcontinent Muslims converts to Islam from some type of proto-Hinduism? The West can't mess with us if we all united as one entity. So this seems like a Hindu asking that question. Remember, Muslims are not against Hindus as a people. We can live side by side. But the Modi government has made that absolutely impossible. So for one united bloc, you need the Hindu extremism finished in India. Someone asks, Pakistanis have been embedded with Sikhism as Ranjit and his empire violated Muslims in Punjab and Peshawar. Sikhism exists within Pakistani families. Well, if you mean culturally, Sikhs and people of Punjab, they have similar cultures. They of course have they have the same language. There is no doubt, but they do differ in Aqidah, belief. But Sikhs are very welcome in Pakistan. Sikhs are not discriminated against in Pakistan. And this is why the Sikh community needs to realize it cannot side with Hindu extremism. And Hindus themselves need to outvote Modi, finish his political career, finish the extremism in India, if Pakistan and India are to have better ties. Someone asks, India has more Muslims than Pakistan. Muslim Ummah should support India in this war, not Pakistan. What do you think? Well, of course, this is written by a Hindu. The response to you is that if Muslim Indians disassociated from Modi, overthrew Modi, established a government in Delhi, and then you say you support Muslims in India over the Muslims in Pakistan, that would make some sense. But instead, you have this idiot wearing a turban with the Indian flag and saying Pakistan Murdabad and Bharat Jindabad, because they don't say Za, they say Ja, Jindabad, and he's supporting Modi over the Muslims. But if he actually got rid of Modi, established a just government that treats Hindus good, treats Sikhs good, treats Muslims good, then you have some argument. Someone states there are so many Indian bots on this chat. Yes, the Zionists and the Indians have something in common in that regard. Someone asks, if war breaks out, is it permissible to go to my ancestral homeland Kashmir and fight with the intention of defending Islam? What rock are you sleeping under? War has broken out. There is war. What do you mean if war breaks out? War has broken out. Someone asks, if Modi government has done this, do you mean India was right in 1965 and 1971? The answer is no, because the state of Jammu and Kashmir does actually belong to Pakistan. Someone asks, to be Shaheed, is fighting for an Islamic country necessary? Sometimes you can be Shaheed without actually fighting for an Islamic country. It could be a good cause. You could be fighting for a good cause and be killed, and you would be deemed as being Shaheed. Someone asks, what are your thoughts on the book A Thinking Person's Guide to Our Times by Prince Ghazi and his position on the best form of modern governance? I haven't read this book. Now that you mention this book, I will order a copy and have a read and give you my thoughts in the future, inshallah. Sheikh, what parts of the Muslim world currently are subject to an obligatory jihad under the definitions? Those regions surrounding Palestine. Let's start with that. So, inshallah, we will have a look at some other updates. India did choose the 7th of May, 1:30 a.m. to attack Pakistan. The date may have been coincidental with the 7th, but some people they believe that it was purposefully done by them. Now, on other news, what is mentioned is Azerbaijan. Someone asks, any nasiha to seek ilm while taking care of my parents? I tried here and even to get married, but Wahhabism is everywhere. As a Qadri, I want help Pakistan and Islam. I want to help Pakistan and Islam like my ancestors did. Well, Talabul Ilm is a form of jihad. You have the reward of a mujahid when you seek knowledge of Islam. And that can be done with your local imam. You start with your local imam. Someone asks, Azerbaijan to host Israel-Turkey meeting on Syria amid rising tensions. Tensions have risen between Turkey and Israel over Syria, with Israel invading parts of the country. So we already know that has happened. This article was released on the 8th of May. And what it states is Israeli and Turkish officials are set to meet in Azerbaijan's capital on Thursday. That was today, earlier today, amid tensions between the two countries over Syria. The meeting, which marks the third round of talks between the two countries, will see Israel present two key demands to Turkey about its presence in Syria, according to Israel's Channel 11. The first demand is that no military force that can threaten Israel be stationed near the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights region of Syria. And the second is that no strategic weapons that could threaten Israel be present in Syria. And I am telling you, Erdogan will agree. So the first demand, no military force that can threaten Israel be stationed near the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. Secondly, that no strategic weapons that could threaten Israel be present in Syria. Azerbaijan is close to the Turkish and Israeli governments, both of which are major arms suppliers to the country, and has become a mediator in talks between the two countries over Syria. Since the fall of the Assad regime in December 2024, Turkey has supported the new government of President Ahmed Shara, while Israel has launched ground incursions from the Golan Heights into the rest of Syria while carrying out airstrikes against military strikes. Now, much of the Wahhabis, the trolls, what they say with regard to this is they mention that this is real politicking, and that you do not understand what they are actually doing. But in reality, this is just going towards normalization. That is the trajectory. Someone asks, I am not Hindu, I am Muslim, alhamdulillah, but I think building bridges is important between commoners. We can work on converting low caste Hindus to Islam. Brother, we are not at war with Hindus or Hinduism. Hindus generally are peaceful people. There is a type of Hindu narrative that is peddled by Modi that has now led to war. So firstly, led to communal strife, communal tensions, communal violence in India, and now it has led to war across the border. So that is why you should understand that we are not at war with Hindus or Hinduism. UK-India trade deal, is Farage right to call out big tax exemption? So what happens is, while Modi decides to attack Pakistan, what happens is that he has a trade deal with the UK, and that has led to a backlash from the far right here in the UK. So under the agreement, Indian workers who have been seconded to Britain temporarily will not have to pay national insurance contributions in the UK. Instead, they will continue to pay the Indian exchequer. So they will be working in the UK and paying the Indian exchequer, so funding Modi's wars across the border. The same applies to British workers in India. It avoids workers from being taxed twice for a full suite of benefits they will not receive, such as the state pension. Nigel Farage has described it as a big tax exemption for Indian workers. He said it was impossible to say how many will come, with the Reform Party warning of more mass immigration, more pressure on the NHS, more pressure on housing. But is this deal really undercutting British workers, or is it simply creating a level playing field? Be wary of any hasty conclusions in the absence of an impact assessment from the government. Knowing Keir Starmer and the rubbish Prime Minister that he is, on this regard we stand with Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage is correct. There should be no big tax exemption for Indian workers. They should be taxed like everyone else. Some of them were protesting outside the Pakistani embassy recently. So they come to this country, benefit from the country, and then carry out extremist behavior outside the embassy of Pakistan. So some of them were arrested. So what's been announced 5 minutes ago, India-Pakistan tensions should de-escalate, but are none of our business. US Vice President J.D. Vance. So US Vice President J.D. Vance has just said that Washington wants to see a de-escalation in the conflict between India and Pakistan, but that it is fundamentally none of our business. What we can do is try to encourage these folks to de-escalate a little bit, but we're not going to get involved in the middle of a war that's fundamentally none of our business and has nothing to do with America's ability to control it, said Vance, an advocate of US disengagement from international conflicts, in an interview with the atrocious Fox News. So someone writes on the chat, tonight Azad and Jammu Kashmir is under attack. It's serious. So as we speak now, India is attacking Azad and Jammu Kashmir. as we speak. Someone mentions low caste Hindus are oppressed in India. Muslims, yes, this is correct. So Modi and his comrades actually oppress fellow Hindus. Residents in Jammu hear more sirens as they observe blackout. So there is a 21 minutes ago, 1.9 miles away from Jammu airport at around midnight, the first electricity blackout has been lifted, but at 2 a.m., that's 8:30 GMT, we had a blackout again and heard sirens blaring for around 5 minutes. But we saw nothing in the sky. India said Pakistan launched attacks earlier today in Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan has denied the claim. So those are the current updates, and inshallah we will take more questions and answers. Someone asks, is the earth flat? Number two, they ask, is the earth flat? Number two, is space satellite a scam? Number three, nuclear bomb is a scam. People live in the wrong paradigm. So my answer to you, the earth is not flat. It's geoid. Space satellites do exist. And nuclear bombs are not a scam. In fact, I've talked to someone who witnessed the after effects of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Muhammad Abu Bakr states AJK is not safe at the moment. Someone states today AJK, tomorrow Kartarpur. Pakistan needs to secure its borders and de-escalation required. Ranjit Nand Misal wanted to obliterate Islam. Now he has a statue in Lahore next to the Grand Mosque. What the brother is referring to is the Sikh leadership of the past that wanted to destroy Islam. Now they have erected a statue of him in Lahore next to the Grand Mosque. But it's also iconic that the mosque is still there and Islam still exists. So he didn't achieve his goals. Someone asks, do you think Mirpur will be targeted? Now, for a real escalation, if they attacked the dam, the water dams in Pakistan, that would of course cause deaths of tens and thousands. So the water dams are a soft spot of Azad Kashmir, and those water dams are located in Mirpur. People of Mirpur should be defending their homes. So all those kotiyan that people have constructed worth hundreds and thousands, they should be defending their homes. Instead, many of them are busy with dogfights. They have dogfighting in the region. Remember, Pakistan has given so much freedom to the Azad Kashmiris that the freedom has got to their heads. They are intoxicated by the freedom. They have dogfights. That is their daily practice. Someone points out that there are Hindus and Sikhs in Pakistan, and it is not allowed and not permissible to hurt them or their temples in Islam. Yes, of course. The Sikhs and Hindus in Pakistan are safer than some of the Muslims in India are from Hindus. Someone else points out certain Sufi groups and darbaris that support Modi and don't speak for Muslims properly. Yes, some of them even wear colors similar to the Hindus. Someone asks, any recommendations on Islamic economics? Yes, you can start with my book, Intellectual Intifada, which is a good primer. But there are other books as well. The names do not come to mind at the moment. A brother points out they want Mirpur city back. All flights are cancelled. Well, it seems like the airport will not be constructed anytime soon. So another brother points out the earth is 100% flat, no curvature. That's not true. There are dozens of witnesses who have gone into space and observed the curvature of the earth. He states satellites are 100% a scam, no network in most part of the world. Last time I checked, there was network on mobile phones. He states your nuclear bomb argument is invalid. Well, you go against the residents of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, hundreds and thousands of residents who observed the effects of nuclear bomb. Brother points out there is in Mirpur, there is rooster fighting, dog fighting, zulm on animals. Yes, those people in Mirpur city, well, mainly in the villages, in Dadial and Chakswari and these areas, that carry out dog fighting, chicken fighting, commit oppression on the animals should desist before a punishment comes in the form of Modi's missiles. That can easily happen, and we shouldn't laugh at the idea. A missile at the hands of the kuffar can be a punishment for some people. So desist from these sins, do tawbah, get a license and buy a gun to protect your homes from any potential invasion. Someone says, is Pakistan allowed to retaliate with nukes, or should we say salam to all people and music? The answer is there is no need to carry out a nuclear strike. The situation should not be that it leads to a nuclear strike. Ron Gary asks, what's the final solution since these skirmishes happen every 4 to 5 years? Well, dialogue and diplomacy is the actual solution for India-Pakistan, or an all-out invasion of occupied Kashmir by the Pakistani army. Someone asks, if this war escalates further, is fighting for Pakistan fard for the able men? Yes, the able men in that region must fight. So how the fard is calculated is whoever is located in that region and then those closer to the region, like it is in Palestine, and those who are close to Palestine. Someone says, Barakallahu feek, Shukriya Shaykh. If you ever find yourself in Lahore, we would be honored to host you and perform Khatme Khwajgan. Side note, if the airports remain closed, what is the way to home? Well, it depends where your home is. The airports will not remain indefinitely closed. They will open up, the borders will reopen, and inshallah soon the airports will reopen. Someone asks, what is Israel's interest in Pakistan? Is it because Pakistan has the Islamic nuclear weapon, or is it because it fears that the army of Khorasan will come from there? Thank you for a decent question, because there are so many people who ask lame questions, off-topic questions. Well, if you read Benjamin Netanyahu's, well, the news is just in, India suspends operations from over 27 airports. There must be reasons why they have now suspended operations from over 27 airports. But if you read Benjamin Netanyahu's autobiography, never buy the books of these type of people. Don't give them any profit. Perhaps you can purchase it from a second-hand book shop or a damaged copy, or download it online. When you read that book, you will find that Benjamin Netanyahu mentions Pakistan as a potential threat to what he refers to as Israel. He actually does mention Pakistan. There could be many other reasons. Pakistan shares a border with Iran. Benjamin Netanyahu has been pushing for war against Iran. So he has been pushing the Trump administration to wage war against Iran. Pakistan shares a border with Iran. Pakistan would be the flashpoint of supplying arms to an Iranian resistance in Iran. And that is something that the ISI and Pakistan military will do. That is how they function. And America knows that very well. So an instability in Pakistan, at the very minimum, instability in Pakistan helps Israel's invasion of Iran. Well, Israel cannot actually do a ground invasion of Iran. It needs America's help. In fact, they would not do a land invasion. They would just destroy the infrastructure, destroy the so-called nuclear sites, the military sites of the Iranian military, and a destabilized Pakistan will help them. Someone states over 500 flights have been cancelled, thousands of Indians stranded, security tightened. Well, that is the situation and update. Someone states the population of UP alone is equivalent to Pakistani population, whereas the GDP of Mumbai is greater than Pakistan. In an all-out war, the human waves and resources available to India would be more than Pak. That perhaps is true, but remember, when you measure GDP of Mumbai, which is also the capital of other things, it's the capital of other vile things, Mumbai. And you mentioned the GDP of Mumbai. Well, why do you not mention that this GDP doesn't have the trickle-down effect of supplying 300 million toilets for the people who need them? So every day you have all these Indians walking in the fields, taking a dump on the grass. Those 300 million people are not going to invade Pakistan anytime soon, sir. 300 million Indians who do not have toilets. So the GDP and the high population does not mean anything. Pakistan's army may be smaller than the army of India, but the army is better trained, well fed, and militarily they are more better at assessment, which has been demonstrated. So the Pakistani military is better than the Indian military. Larger population and a better GDP does not mean that they will win a war against Pakistan. Someone asks, did you see the video of Benjamin Netanyahu saying Pakistan is a country to be feared of? Yes, and he means that. So irrelevant of all the faults of the Pakistani military, which I do point out, we are not naive. We know the faults of Pakistani politicians, of the Pakistani military, but unlike Indians that blindly follow their military and blindly follow their politicians, we are also aware of the dangers of destabilizing Pakistan and the dangers of overthrowing the Pakistani military. Someone states, no sea below our feet with boats and planes upside and people in them upside down drinking an upside down coffee. You guys have a big imagination. Well, what you mean is that there is something known as gravity, my friend. That at the bottom side of the earth, near Australia, if people are on the ground, it's because of gravity. That's how gravity functions. What is the Someone asks, what is the Shari'i hukm, meaning Islamic ruling, on operating a private defense contractor in accordance with local and international laws to prevent atrocities, or is this something exclusive to national governments? The answer is it would be permitted if you are preventing atrocities. It would be permissible. Someone says, Sheikh, Pakistan needs a revolution, free Imran Khan. I would say no, Pakistan does not need a revolution. Revolutions within Muslim countries cause bloodshed. Look at Syria. Syria does not even have a military now to defend itself. Not to say the Baathists were any better, not to say Bashar was any better, but Pakistani military is still better than Bashar al-Assad. So Pakistan does not need a revolution. What the Pakistani military should do is, as a sign of goodwill, they should free Imran Khan in order to create a national unity. So yes, they should free Imran Khan, but he should be freed by the army as a national gesture of a good gesture and a national unity. Someone asked the question, Sheikh, any hadith on whether technological agenda for full control will work? Also, are these wars distractions? You've written distractions. The answer is no one will have full technological control. That's actually a conspiracy theory. No one has full technological control. That's a conspiracy theory. And the wars, are they distractions? Distractions from what? There are to date over 50,000 people who have been killed in Gaza. Our focus on that is not a distraction. That is the main agenda. I'll tell you what is a distraction. A distraction is some of the kind of questions which people ask in the chat. Some of the questions which are not related to real life. Someone states, since the war escalated on May the 7th, all mosques and all Pakistani Muslims are reciting kalima and takbir and are ready for any eventuality. And the person states that Muslims do not fear death. Someone asks a critical question, can we allegedly say Modi is on Benjamin's payroll? Well, it would have they would have common interests. And I mentioned in 2019 when the Kashmir lockdown happened, is that Modi employed the methodology of the Zionists in Palestine. Someone asks, was the attack in Kashmir rooted from a Kharji group? Was Pakistan in control of that? The answer is no. Pakistan had no interest in carrying out an attack on tourists in occupied Kashmir. Pakistan has no interest in killing tourists. The Pakistani military was not engaged in killing tourists in occupied Kashmir. If it is fard for the people around the world to fight, will Pakistanis all over the country and maybe even the Afghanis have to participate if war escalates? This depends. If war leadership requires more fighters, the fard is based on that. Someone asks, would the Taliban join Pakistan along with the Chechens to fight India? Well, the Chechens have not been any useful in Gaza and Palestine, and the Taliban would have to be responsible for its own policy. But I do not think it will reach the stage where the Pakistani army would require external help. What is Bangladesh's role? Will they support Pakistan now that the Indian-backed regime isn't running the country? The answer is yes. Bangladesh is now an ally of Pakistan, and that's how it should be. Someone states Benjamin has got to be loving this, as it has taken the heat off him for a while in the media, as everyone in the media is busy with this. You are correct, but follow the trail. The money trail always leads to a white man, and in this case it leads to the white man known as Benjamin Netanyahu, not a Semitic man. He claims to be Semitic. He is not Semitic. Someone asks, do you think Ghazwatul Hind is about to happen? The answer is no. This is Muqaddimatu Ghazwatul Hind. Someone asks, wouldn't a nuclear bomb destroy Pakistan as well? So isn't it an empty threat? I see a lot of people mentioning the atom bombs. The answer is yes, the atom bomb should not be mentioned in this context. Someone asks, what are your opinions on the Afghan Taliban? Well, there are many Indian Muslims, not all of them. There are some good Indian Muslims, but there are some Indian Muslims who despise the Taliban. But I believe the Taliban should be an ally of Pakistan. Pakistan and Afghanistan should have unity because they are both Muslim nations. Both are Hanafi for the majority. Someone asks, is the Pak army going to be the one to achieve Ghazwatul Hind or some other army? That shall be the army of Al-Imam al-Mahdi. Whether the Pakistani army will join al-Mahdi is something to be observed in the future. Someone asks, if Pakistan does a ground invasion of Indian-occupied Kashmir, should it invade China-administered Kashmir Aksai Chin? That's a loaded question because China is an ally of Pakistan, and China does not govern Aksai Chin, at least, the way India governs Indian-occupied Kashmir. So the fight for an independent Kashmir is not occurring in Aksai Chin. And of course, that's a very loaded question. Someone asked, what can we do in the diaspora for our homeland? One of the best things you can do is counter false propaganda by the Modi government. Inshallah, we will have a look at any other updates, and then after the updates we will have one final questions and answer session. So keep your questions ready. When we return back to questions, we will just have a look at the updates, if there are any more updates and developments on the ground. So here are the things that the top developments of the day. The top developments are the following. Pakistan has denied that it launched attacks tonight in the Indian cities of Pathankot and Jaisalmer and Srinagar. Remember, Srinagar is not an Indian city. None of these are. In Indian occupied Kashmir. So Al Jazeera, they write administered. The Reuters news agency, citing an unnamed Indian official, reported that there were attacks in Akhnur, Samba, Katua, and multiple other locations in Jammu in Indian administered Kashmir. India also claimed that military stations in Jammu, Pathankot, and Udhampur, which are all close to the border between India and Pakistan, have been targeted by Pakistan using missiles and drones. The country's integrated defense staff stated. I believe that would be true, that Pakistan has targeted military sites. Indian media reported that a Pakistani Air Force pilot was captured by Indian security forces after ejecting from his fighter jet over the city of Jaisalmer. Some Pakistani officials denied the incident. Well, it's on the Indian media now to show this to be true. They must show this and demonstrate that this is actually true. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in calls with the leaders of both India and Pakistan, emphasized the need for immediate de-escalation. US State Department spokesman Tammy Bruce said, India's Civil Aviation Ministry said that 24 airports in the country will be closed for civil flights as tensions with Pakistan escalate. Pakistan had also closed airports today, with Karachi later reopening according to the Pakistani Airports Authority. So there are people not looking forward to war, as people are being evacuated now on the border with Pakistan. So in India occupied Kashmir, there are people being evacuated as we speak. Inshallah, we will take one last session of questions and answers. Keep your questions on the subject matter, and please do not ask shallow questions like beard sizes and thobe sizes and these type of questions. Someone says all over the earth Muslims face the Kaaba on the flat earth. Someone states evacuations are taking place because Pakistan is battering India. Well, I hope the Pakistan army is able to make the military force of India evacuate Kashmir. News just in, India is in crisis and emergency evacuations are occurring. Someone asks, is this war linked to Ashratu Sa'a? The answer is, this would be counted as the general Ashratu Sa'a, which are just wars. It's not a specific sign. Someone states, I totally agree and understand where you are coming from, albeit one would say that you're being optimistic in regards to the Pakistani military. As much as we would want the military to do the right thing, unfortunately, it's unlikely. So then how can we, as the Pakistani Muslim diaspora and the Pakistani natives, ensure that the people at the top do the right thing? Well, I think the military staff that is in charge, they will know better than civilians with regard to military engagement. And any military offensives, they would be better, they would have a better judgment as to whether a military offensive should take place or not. The news just in, Pakistan Army and Chief vowing to strike harder. No de-escalation in sight yet. So that is just in that the Pakistani army has vowed to strike back and there is no de-escalation. Someone asked, what is your recommendation for us to form an Ahlul Halli wal Aqd with so many deviants? We could move towards unity like the Afghans. Someone asks, do you think it will escalate? Well, I do not play any prescient games. I would not go into looking into crystal balls and future predictions. We will just observe on the sidelines. And usually when I do mention some things, that is actually based upon the hadith of the best of creation, sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. So we do not know because tomorrow anything could happen. Someone says, breaking news, Bharat Mata got kidnapped by a Pakistani soldier. Someone asks, do you think Bangladesh will attack India? The answer is no. I do not think Bangladesh, the Bangladeshi military will actually attack India at this current stage, at this early stage, even though Bangladesh is now an ally of Pakistan. News just in, Pakistan government and army say they are resolute in carrying on with the operation, which is called Suhagrat, and will give an even better response to Buzdil Bharat, which means cowardly Bharat. Suhagrat is in response to the Indian operation, which was something to do with the placing the red dot on the forehead. So the Pakistanis have labeled their military response as Suhagrat. Someone asks, will Pakistan launch an offensive into Indian main parts? If you mean ground invasion, that will not happen. Someone asks, Turkey will not get involved either, even though they are an ally of Pakistan. Yes, Turkey is all talk. Remember that. Erdogan should be given the award of the talker of the year. Erdogan will never engage in war with Turkey, with India. Erdogan has troops stationed in Libya. He has troops stationed in Iraq. He has troops stationed in Syria. He has troops stationed everywhere, but he has no military action in Gaza. Yet he has been talking for so long. Someone asked, I heard Turkey sent warships to Pakistan. Is that true? That was denied earlier today by the Turkish government. So that is not true. Someone says, Salam Sheikh, will Ahmad Shara min Jawlan engage against Israel? The answer is no. These are dreams. These are pipe dreams that some people are having. The bad point in this war is that the war is at the cost of civilians on both sides. So it's very selfish of Modi to have initiated this war when negotiations were possible, even negotiations over Kashmir. Someone asks, why has there been no united fatwa or action plan from major Muslim scholars or countries on Kashmir? Because these major Muslim scholars and countries took no action on Palestine, where in real time 52,000 plus people have been killed and 118,000 in total have been displaced and injured, meaning hundreds and thousands have been displaced, but 118,000 have been injured. So they were unable to take action for Gaza, and they would be unable to take action for Kashmir. Someone states the media is not showing everything. A lot of civilian damage to villages, constructions, and people is being hidden. That is why there is emergency evacuations. Someone asks, is the war narrative going to change after the election of an American Pope? Again, like people started to dream after Jolani conquered Damascus, they had dreams. Now they are having dreams about an American Pope. Do you think Russia and China will help Pakistan if India invades? India will not invade Pakistan. It's suicide for them to do so. If Modi is overthrown, would it affect the Zionists? The answer is yes, because he is an ally of the Zionists. Remember, original India did not recognize Israel, the India of Gandhi. Someone said, you said a ground invasion will not happen, but everything is pointing to that. Not really. There does not seem to be signs of a ground invasion. Someone asked, do you read fictional books such as Lord of the Rings? The answer is yes, I read Lord of the Rings as a child. So someone states, Army Chief Sayyid Asim Munir took all his family in his private army jet to America for safety. That means they knew all flights would be cancelled and war would be on. Possibly, and inshallah we will be observing. Before we come to an end, I will take your last set of questions and make them decent. Someone asked, what is your position on Imran Khan? I believe Imran Khan should be released by the military for national unity of Pakistan. Should we as a community collectively boycott all Indian products? Well, the boycott would be difficult where possible by Pakistani products. Breaking news, Indian Navy just attacked Karachi. So we will check that now on the mainstream news outlet. Someone is claiming that Karachi is attacked and that Karachi has become a target. Let's see if that is actually true. Can we give zakat to charities with 100% donation policy? Yes, your zakat would be permitted if it actually does do 100%. What is your position on India and British new trade deal before the war? I believe the Indians being tax exempt, foreign Indians in the UK should pay tax. Why should the Indian government take that tax? Someone asks, if not Ahmad al-Shar, then surely someone from the Sham will take action. The people of Sham have fervor to fight Israel. Well, that's not exactly true. Segments of the Syrian population have fervor to fight Israel, not all of them. Many of them do not want engagement with Israel. And that is why they are supporting Ahmad al-Shar, because they believe he will build and construct a country like the UAE. Some of them actually think that. Someone asks, what is your opinion on political unity with deviant groups? I believe it's permissible. And that is where the Indian Muslims are failing. They should have national unity. Inshallah, what I would say is, before finishing, because people are asking about India blocking so many YouTube channels, all the Indians on the YouTube, what to do is like and subscribe to my channel. Let's see you increase the number of subscribers on my channel today. The Indian Muslims who support what I am saying, subscribe to the channel, and everyone who is viewing now, click the subscribe channel and increase our number of subscribers, inshallah. Someone asks, why are so many popular Muslim speakers on politics very anti-Houthi and do not comment on the slaughter in Yemen? That is because they believe the Houthi as Zaydis that are actually influenced by extremist Shiaism in their rhetoric. And there is much politics in Yemen, the interfighting between the factions in Yemen before the current war. And because of this, many people do not support them. And they do not comment on the famine as well in Yemen. So that is a common problem. Someone asks, Sheikh, is Imran Khan not suitable Muslim leader due to the acceptance of two-state solution? The answer is that I am not recommending him as a leader. I'm saying that Pakistan should release him for national unity. The nation needs a national unity, and he is a popular leader. And by releasing him, they have some aspect of national unity. Someone asks, can I become a mathematician being a Muslim? Of course you can. Mathematics is a very good subject. Someone quotes Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Muslims who are opposing Pakistan will spend the rest of their lives proving loyalty to India. Someone asks, Shaykh, how do Bengalis support Pakistan military when they committed atrocities against its people in 1971? The last time I checked, that was 54 years ago. Nations recover and nations move on. Ahmad al-Shar al-Jawlani has made ties with Russia. And Russia is responsible for destroying so many Syrian towns. How to start reading Islamic philosophy of philosophers like Ibn Rushd, Imam Ghazali to understand reasoning and give answer to non-Muslims. Philosophy is the wrong term, but I would advise you to read the book Islam Answers Atheism as a primer. Can I pray behind a Shafi'i Imam as a Hanafi? These are the lame questions I was referring to. Can I pray behind a Shafi'i Imam as a Hanafi? That's a lame question. Of course you can. It's permissible to pray behind a Shafi'i Imam. So these are the type of lame questions that people ask. Someone asked, is this breaking news real or fake news regarding Karachi? Is it real or fake? We have no updates on that. So inshallah we will stop the live stream here. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give victory, inshallah, to Pakistan over India, and soon we have a free Kashmir and a free Palestine. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Until the next time.